Hello everyone, it's me Melissa, and today we're gonna be talking about the most recent episode of Ready to Love. Now, if you guys know, we did not get any episode last week, and so I know a lot of people were quite upset. However, they gave us something this week, so we're gonna be reviewing, and as you know, I get right into it. Okay, so in this particular episode, the women are in control. Last week, I believe Courtney was sent home, which nobody was expecting because it just seemed like something that happened out of the blue, and we never quite could figure out why she was sent home, but she was. And today, this episode, the women are gonna have the guys meet their friends. So we know that it's gonna be a little bit juicy. So first we have Zarya Nahim, and as I've been saying to you guys, I just don't see a genuine connection with Zarya and Nahim. As much as they smile and they hug and they do whatever, it just does not seem like a real, solid, long-lasting type of vibe with them. I feel like Zarya is faking. I feel like Zarya knows when to smile. She knows when to put on the charm to make people think that she likes somebody, but I don't see her really liking Naeem like that. And bear in mind, in this particular episode, Naeem was the only person that she had meet her friends. Do I feel like that's because she only had a connection with Naeem? No. Because later on in the episode, she mentions having two persons on her list. Like, she did not like the word list, but she has two people as her options. And so I'm a little bit confused as to why we only saw one person meet her friends. I don't know if they're trying to keep the other person as a surprise, but based on future previews that I saw, could her second option be Walter? I have a feeling that the second option is Walter. But the date was okay. They didn't really ask him some really tough questions. Like, they didn't speak about finances, because I feel like if they asked him a question about finances, that would be where the red flags would reside. But they didn't ask him that. I think they got him off relatively easy. Then we have Sabrina and Walter. So I said I'm not surprised that he aced the interview. He's very charming and sociable. Okay, so they were happy with him. On top of that, they liked how he looked, you know. And then we have, I'm not going to get into exactly what he answered or how he answered it. Just know that the friends ended up liking him in the end. Then we have Sabrina and Sean. Now, Sabrina does preface, before he comes, she does tell him about the date that they went on and her feeling like something he said was a red flag. And I believe he said something like he thinks maybe potentially later on in the relationship, he might end up breaking up with her, or the relationship might not last that much, or something he said along those lines that made Sabrina really feel a certain type of way and question him and his intentions and stuff like that. So, of course, their friends have that in their heads about him. And so they do ask him about that, which I'm very happy that they did. But let's go into what I think he probably said. So, I started this by saying Sabrina and Sean would never work. And I'm happy that the friends grilled him on the comment he made about potentially hurting her in the future. If you've done the same thing, which is dated women and expecting them to have kids by you. And the thing about Sean is not even that he's dating women and whatever. I feel like what the problem is he's dating older women who has had children, and their children are relatively grown and who don't want children again to have children for him. Like, he's done this multiple times. And I feel like he's gotten into certain relationships where he knew it wasn't going to work because he wanted kids and the woman did not want, but he decided to go through the relationship anyways to benefit from whatever he could benefit from beside the kid part. You know, and when he was done with the relationship, he could always say, oh, well, I want kids and you don't. You know, I think like that's what he does. And to me, that's a huge red flag. So I do not blame Sabrina for seeing it as a red flag either. If you've done the same thing and gotten the same result, why continue to go down that dead end and think it would work? Plus, he mentioned about only being able to pay a bill or two. No woman wants to hear that. Like, literally. The moment you say you can only pay a bill or two, what's your use? And I think for Sabrina's friends, that was another big red flag. And they just outright told in front of Sean. One of Sabrina's male friends told her, this guy is not the one for you. Like, he is gonna just be wasting your time. He's just gonna be like stalling you. It was brutal. Like, it was the most brutal meetings besides KG and, you know, Naya. This was probably one of the most brutal friend meetings I have ever seen. Like, in front of Sean, the friend is like, this guy's just gonna waste our time. Like, wow. I felt a little sorry for him, but I also felt like the friends were justified in grilling him how they did. Like, even Sabrina felt bad for him, but I felt like they were right to do that because he would just end up hurting Sabrina in the end. You know, I feel like he probably would like want to see where it goes, but essentially it's not gonna go anywhere long term. So why even entertain that? You know, at that point I felt like he just wanted to either stay longer on the show or, well, basically, I just felt like he wanted to stay longer on the show because if the lady is telling you that she doesn't want kids, you want, what's more to talk about? At this point, I feel like he just wanted to take advantage of the opportunity of being on the show, but he didn't really want, or nothing long term would amount from him and Sabrina, you know. And I'm happy she cut him off right there and then. It gave me KG flashbacks, I said. I think all in all, he got, I put a 2 out of 10 just because I guess he showed up. But besides that, like, it was a terrible meeting. Then we have Camille and Cornelius. As we all know, she's the red flag. She's the biggest red flag between the two. And I did expect him to do well because she's the problematic one, not necessarily him. Yes, he is very timid and he's not a very alpha man or masculine man. But besides that, she's the one that's problematic. So I did expect him to do really well, which he did. Now, she was preaching about, oh, not wanting to have premarital sex and calling Courtney wanting to do it nasty and freaky and all these things. And how hypocritical is it that we find out that she also wants to have premarital sex? So at this point, I'm like, this show is fake and phony because you guys were grilling Courtney about wanting to have, pushing Cornelius to have sex before he wanted to. But then Camille also wants to have premarital sex. So at this point, how are they different? You know, they literally have the same values as far as wanting to have premarital sex. So what's the difference? You know, there's literally no difference besides, I mean, they both have very forward, dominating energy. So what's the difference? People are trying to say, oh, do they treat Camille like this because she's dark-skinned? And in fact, they grilled Courtney more so than they grilled Camille. So there's nothing about skin color in this conversation at all. There's no conversation. So that skin color thing, just toss that to the side because Courtney didn't get any favors because she was lighter skinned. Okay? So now she's saying she wants to test the equipment. But I'm saying, does Cornelius know that? Because I remember Courtney being crucified for wanting to do the same. That's how you know that they're saving her for the end. I don't get the fakery and foolery. You know, they're asking him, are you in love? Like, these people don't even know each other. And Camille already told you she's not even kissed Cornelius yet. And you're talking about, are you in love? Are you serious? I say, sir, they don't know each other. Their friends say that she's a runaway bride. And Cornelius is like, oh, I know their friends were joking. They were not joking. She is a runaway bride and she has issues with commitment. Instead of calling it a joke, take it seriously. You know, because that might save you in the end. Alright? So they also say that she gets bored very quickly when he leaves. They say, oh, he's a nice guy, but Camille is bored of nice guys. She normally, maybe she likes the nice guy initially, and the moment she does not feel, I guess, the excitement anymore, she leaves. So I'm thinking, what makes Cornelius different? Then she says she's tired of jumping from one man to the other. Really? I don't see Cornelius and Camille going anywhere that makes sense at all. However, you know, recently, a couple of days ago, there was Thanksgiving. And Cornelius was there with Camille and Zarya and Mumen, and they had a wonderful Thanksgiving. So what I can say about that is at least they're cordial. Now, I don't know if they're together, but they're cordial, you know. So I suppose that's a good thing. If Cornelius is smart, he would let Camille go, period. Now, Sydney, who we have only seen twice on this show, is meeting with Frank. Okay, now they've met before. They're acquaintances. They work in the same business. He says his biggest weakness is he cares too much. What? Okay, that doesn't sound good to me. Well, it doesn't sound genuine to me. To me, that equates to you were a stalker, you know, or you were emotionally unhinged in previous relationships. You know, it just sounds like a guy who did not know how to control his feelings. That just is what it translates to me. He says he cared too much. That sounds weird. He says, I feel like they're already dating. Yeah, I said I feel like they're already dating, because that's the energy that I got. Do you see how Frank was rubbing on this woman's leg and like kissing on the lip? These people have been dating. Whether it be off the show, they've been dating already. That's what it gives me. Now we go to of course, the friends feel as if Frank is giving pageant answers, which he is. And I don't think that he's being his true, genuine self. I absolutely do not. But they think he's okay. And Sydney said that's her man and she's sticking beside him. Okay, sis. Now we have Mumen. Mumen has two guys that she wants her friend to meet. Now, Mumen was the only person who only had one friend show up. Okay, so that friend has been married for 24 years. So she thinks that friend is, I suppose, has the best advice for any of her potential mates. So Dante comes in first. He talks about his 3 baby mamas. And she talks about loving children. I don't think you have to really worry about children. I think you have to worry about the baby mamas. I feel like sometimes Mumen just comes across as oblivious. Like, it's like she's never been in a situation like that. So she's going into it optimistically. But most of the time, that just never ends very well. Okay? So I don't think Mumen has very good discernment. Because I just feel like if you have interest in her, she's gonna just run with you somewhere. So Dante says they have a strong connection. I think it's a lustful connection. I don't know. I just don't. Yeah, I saw them on the golf date and they were all over each other. But I don't know. I don't know if Dante really likes Moomin. I mean, he's saying they have a connection, but I just don't see a strong thing with them. You know, I feel like he's more interested in Shiloh than Moomin, but who knows? I can't really read him. Now, Walter comes in whilst Dante was there. And of course, the room is awkward. Everything is awkward. And of course, Moomin is saying Dante was open, whereas Walter was more closed off and stuff. Of course, I would be closed off. Like, I can't be open and you have my competition next to me. That's crazy. You know, eventually. But one thing that Moomin said that Dante did that made her like Dante more is he held onto her hand under the table. And I feel like he did that not necessarily to soothe Moomin, but to kind of, I don't know, to kind of have a one-up on Walter. Like, I'm the one holding her. I'm the one doing this. Like, you could be here, but I'm the one, you know, she's feeling. I don't know. I just felt like it was kind of a player move. Like, I don't know, to prove to himself or to secretly prove to Walter that he's above Walter, but I don't know. So she felt when he did that, she felt comfortable and, you know, she felt that was a good gesture for him to do. Anyways, whatever. I don't see anybody there for a moment, so I really don't know. Like, at this point, it's just for entertainment for me. Now, Phil. As I said many times, Phil needs to be watched. Phil has his hands in everybody's cookie jar. He had a date with Aisha, a date with Tissia, and a date with Shiloh. Of course, Aisha's friends grill him, but he's good at answering questions, you know, doing the tit for tat and not being necessarily caught in a awkward question or in a question that he can't really answer. He was able to answer all. Now, Phil and Tissia also able to answer all. He mentioned him wanting kids, and she mentioned 3, and he was like, well, I guess, maybe, whatever. Then we have Phil and Shiloh. The friends were like coming back to back with the questions. And he mentioned not wanting to give away the order that the women stand in. I think it's smart for him to do that because it leaves the viewers guessing. But I think it's very obvious who is his number 1 and who's his number 3. Shiloh is his number 1 because unlike the other people, he was really like showing that display of affection with Shiloh. And we need to really pay attention to the wording when they asked him like where Shiloh was on his list. He mentioned like Shiloh is, yeah, she's one of my strongest connections, if not the strongest connection. So Shiloh is number 1, and number 2 would be Aisha. You know, and for Tissia, he mentioned, oh, she's definitely up there. That's very vague. And that just leads us to understand that Tissia is probably at the bottom of those 3 women, you know. So anyways, the ladies convene, and Tissia feels like there's like a different energy in the room, you know. And come to find out, a lot of the women did seem very irritated during that entire sit down. Now, Tissia, so they talk about, Sydney talks about Frank and their friends feeling he might not be very genuine. Sabrina wanted to boast about how Walter said she was the number 1. And we know that women, when they convene in these lounges, they want to one-up each other. So they want to say things the person said that would make them look like they're the number 1 girl, you know, to make the other women feel a type of way. So Sabrina definitely said that on purpose. She said Walter said she's the number 1 connection, and of course it pans over to the other women's faces. Then she speaks on the tragedy that was Sean's meeting with her friends. And oh my gosh, that was awkward. She said she felt so bad, and it was a terrible meeting. I see on her Facebook she talked about the power of editing. I'm not sure how editing played a role in making Sean look so terrible. It probably did, but that is what it is, Then we have, who else? Aisha speaks on Phil, and their date and their situation. Like, one thing with these women, they all spoke about something Phil said to them that he didn't say about the other women. Like, Aisha said something, Tisia said something about him wanting kids, and then they pan over to Aisha's face because we know Aisha doesn't really want kids like that. And then Shiloh talks about him being touchy and feely all upon her, which he probably wasn't with the other women. So the other women mentioned something that, Phil did with them that he didn't do with the other women. Of course, the woman felt away because you're like, I didn't know Phil had so many other connections, Aisha felt like, okay, I'm gonna see what the guy does. If he decides to go off with and see other women, that's fine. I'm gonna see if he comes back. But also, it could potentially be a situation where he finds a connection elsewhere, and that's fine, I guess. So Tisia kind of feels like she agrees with Aisha, but she is trying to feel like what is he doing? Like, I'm ready for him to choose, period. She wants him to choose her. So yeah. She said he needs to pick a side, but in my mind, I'm thinking it's way too early for him to pick a side. Anyways, the women are naming Cornelius a lot for the bottom, and to me that makes sense. Like, he doesn't have any other connection besides Camille. What is he doing here? Tisia says he may not be as sure as she is, meaning she was talking about Camille. She's saying that Cornelius may not be as sure or set on Camille as Camille is set on him. Cornelius was mentioned more than Sean. And I said that even before I saw the rest of the episode. I feel like Sean was gonna be sent home, because I feel like Cornelius could have been mentioned 100 times and Sean mentioned only 3 times, and Sean would have still been sent home, because I feel like they're trying to create this love story between Camille and Cornelius. So of course they can't send him home. So Zarya gets annoyed when she was told that she had a list, because they're talking about, oh, the men need to narrow the list. And so Aisha is like, okay, well, the females also have to narrow their list, and it's like the women want the men to shrink, but the women don't want to shrink themselves. So Zarya got upset. She seemed very snappy, I said, talking about address her by her name and just being very like unpleasant, the entire interaction with the women. Cornelius and Zarya meet, of course. I think Cornelius is speaking game. He talks about, oh, of course you were right there with Camille. BS. Stop the foolery. You're not there with Zarya. You wouldn't dare go on a date with Zarya. Even coming into the date with Zarya, you were talking about how Zarya and Camille are friends and you don't know how you're gonna navigate the situation. Now you're talking about, oh, Zarya is up there with Camille. Like, stop the BS, please, Cornelius. At this point, you're just trying to save your ass, because you know that you're gonna potentially be sent home. So now you want to say you have other connections beside Camille, when everybody knows your only connection is Camille. That just irritated me. Like, I hate when people lie. Like, at that point, you're lying. Now, I know Zarya was catching all his, like, inaccuracies and stuff, which I like, because it's like, at this point, you're just talking BS. You just want to save yourself. You don't want to be sent home, But at the end of the day, I'm not surprised that Cornelius was spared. As I said before, you're going to keep Cornelius and Camille together, because as far as anything is concerned, they need that love story. And I guess the most solid thing there is Cornelius and Camille. So then we have Sean and Tissia, and of course Tissia mentions after the first date she never even heard anything about Sean, and we learned that is because Sean had a negative meeting with Sabrina, and so that really made him shut off, and he did not really reach out to any of the women. And he's mentioning that he's happy to go home because I suppose he wasn't ready to open up and show his real self. And I definitely felt like there was a big representative with Sean. I felt like Sean was not being his authentic self at all. Phil has made it so next episode we see Phil, and because we see he has connections with many women, and that's gonna make it very awkward with the women. It's very clear that he wants Shiloh. Like, that's not even surprising. Tissia is not too happy to learn about that, because she's thinking that she and Phil has this strong connection. Meanwhile, Sean has this even bigger connection with Shiloh. Zarya and Shiloh have an awkward meeting with Dante as well. There's more questions for Frank. I think it's women's turn to go home that episode. Tissia will definitely be the one leaving because I don't see anything there with Tissia. Like, she has something with Phil, but does Phil have something with her? Okay, and as I said, the men will keep Camille for Cornelius no matter what. So anyways, you guys, that was my review of Ready to Love. Let me know what you guys think about this particular episode in the comment section. Of course, I want you to like and subscribe to my channel. Duh. And stay tuned for other reviews from me, Melissa. Bye.